King Kong is in the DorkLair. Welcome to another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the Mezco King Kong of Skull Island, and this is a roughly 7-inch figure, so this isn't some like big massive King Kong, but Mezco just started to tease the pre-order for their 18-inch King Kong that I think is pretty much based on the same sculpt as this guy. And so I thought it would be a good time to revisit this thing. I've had it for a little while and I haven't done a review on it yet, so I thought it would be a great time to take it out of here and take a look at it. So this is a pretty cool figure. The sculpt work and the fur and the paint on this thing is really great. I love this head sculpt. There's a second head sculpt as well. This figure was, I think, about $40. It's still pretty readily available from what I can tell. It's not going to really scale with any of your other figures, but, you know, maybe some miniatures or something it would scale with. But it's a really cool figure, and even if you're not going to have a scale King Kong in your collection, it's a pretty cool piece, and it could sort of represent just any monster amongst your figures. You know, this is kind of a biggish gorilla in a 6-inch scale or something like that. So it's a pretty cool piece. I like it very much. Let's get into this review. And King Kong has some really cool packaging. I took the insert out so that you could see the forested Skull Island backdrop in there, which I think is really cool. And that whole piece does pull out. So if you wanted to just set that up in a display case or on a shelf or something, you could actually have that backdrop in there. And so it's got sort of a weird angled shape. And then it's got a King Kong of Skull Island. Not a sticker. It almost looks like a sticker on the side there, but it's just an overlaid glossy logo. And, you know, this is not Kong Skull Island, the movie. This is just a Mezco's take on King Kong, the creature or monster from Skull Island. And then on the back of it, you can see there's some product shots and the accessories, and then the same logo on this side here. So I like this packaging. I think it's really, really nice. Mezco does a good job of packaging. Sometimes their packaging is huge, but for this figure, I think this is, you know, kind of expected size because it's a kind of sort of a chunkier figure. You're going to need a thicker box. And now getting a look at the paint sculpt and detail on King Kong, I have him set back up in the, basically like the standard accessory. So he's just got the fists on there and then the kind of regular angry straight head sculpt. You can see the eyes, they're painted really well, and then you've got all this fur in this brown tone that has a lighter wash to bring out all that great sculpt work, and the face is a fleshy, darker sort of grayish black, maybe a little bit of blue in there. The sculpt work is really phenomenal. You can see these scars, and they're painted a slight red to make them look more fleshy, moving down through the chin and the mouth, and then the chest has some of that same kind of you know, that gorilla flesh on the front there, and some more scars throughout. And just look at all of this beautiful sculpt work on this fur. This guy is really gorgeous. And moving on down the figure, looking at some of the sculpt work on the legs, and it's kind of a lot of the same going on throughout. And then the feet, you can see right there, really nicely detailed, and the same with these hands. And we'll show the other hands with the accessories in a minute, but this is really cool. And I think about that, scaling this up to the 18-inch figure. So this is basically like a 7-inch figure, and I just can't imagine how awesome it's going to be to scale this up to 18 inches and how much more detail is going to come out with all that sculpt work and fur. And but I gotta say, the price on that thing is kind of crazy. It's $250 for the 18-inch figure, and you know, that is a lot of money. That is a big chunk of change. So it'll be interesting to see if, you know, it comes out seeming like it's worth that much. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to wait for reviews on that thing, but I would love to have just a massive gorilla. Oh, probably would be close to scale with like 3 3/4 figures if you had an 18-inch version of this. But yeah, so we'll see. That figure is going to be going up for pre-order on Monday, May 13th, and then it's supposed to have a release of maybe like November, December of 2019. So Yeah, so we'll see how many people are into that price tag of $250. But this for 40 is an absolute steal in my opinion. And now let's take a look at those accessories. And starting off with the second head sculpt, this is a screaming, angry, very aggressive gorilla head. King Kong just raging right now. And the teeth and gums, the gums are shiny and the tongue is like a shiny flesh, and the teeth are also painted like a nice dirty toothy kind of tone to them. And then the rest is fairly similar in terms of like the sculpt work and stuff. But yeah, this is an awesome head right here. Really adds to the variety you can pose with this figure. And then it also comes with a few extra hands. So it comes with 3 extra hands. It has 2 kind of open gripping hands right here. You can see how those look. Very nice. See the fingernails in there. And then it has 1 damsel holding hand. And what is her name? I gotta look in the box because I'm not a super big King Kong fan, but Ann Darrow is her name. But there you go. You can see her. And this piece comes out. So I'll show you in 1 second the separate pieces. But I thought I would have it in his hand for just that little bit there. And then you can pull the figure right out of that hand. And it's a separate piece there. So really neat. And then finally it comes with 2 pairs of shackles, which are really cool. And they actually sort of peg shut right there. And they have chains. These chains are actually metal. I think it's just probably easier to find metal chains and mass-produce metal chains than it is plastic chains. But it looks very... Even the shackles themselves that are made out of plastic look pretty metallic and are painted well. So those are really fun to have on him. And yeah, so that does it for the accessories. Okay, and looking at the articulation, starting off with the head, it can look up this far and it can look down this far, and then it can kind of rock side to side in various ways. Nothing extreme, but there's some subtle movements you can do with him. And the head pops off very easily and then pops right back on. So it's not too bad at all. The rest of the articulation is nothing impressive, but the arm can rotate up about this much. It can totally swing all the way around like this. There's a single joint at the elbow where you can get the elbow up about that far. It's not quite 90 degrees, and it'll come straight that far down. It'll also rotate around on that hinge, on that swivel right there. And then the hands have a little bit of articulation as well. So there's a ball joint at the hand, and it can swing all the way around like this. So get a little bit of movement in the hands. The upper torso can kind of slide around and do some crunching to the side, crunch forward a little bit, and can crunch back. So a decent amount of articulation there. Mine's a little loose up there, but not too bad. And then the legs can swivel up about that far and then back that far. It's on a ball joint at the hip, so it can also come out a little bit, about this much here. And then the knee has a little bit of articulation. I can swing it that far and then straight that much. And then there's a ball joint at the foot or the ankle that can sort of rock around, and you can use it to reposition him and get him flat-footed in different like wider stances or running stances and things like that, walking forward and whatnot. So decent articulation for what it is, a big, huge, chunky gorilla. All right, and so looking at the size of this guy, probably the closest thing to in scale I have with him would be this McFarlane dragon that I have from Game of Thrones. So the reason why I say that is because I feel like Anne would fit on top of this dragon, like about in scale with the dragon. So it seems to be kind of in scale with King Kong. And then another thing I thought I would put next to it, just because it's kind of another like big monster type thing, is the Star Wars Dejarik figure. And let's see, another thing that's kind of like might be sort of in scale. I think this is going to be probably too small for the scale, but this is a Gypsy Avenger from Pacific Rim 2. So, like, I think she's way too big. So the Gypsy Avenger should be a lot bigger to scale with the King Kong, but still kind of fun to pose it with it. And then something that's a little bit smaller than King Kong, but still way too large to be in scale with him would be this Knight from the Boss Fight Studios Vitruvian Hacks series. That's a 3 3/4 figure. And let me pull them forward just a little bit here, and we'll pull in some kind of regular 6-inch figures. So next up we have a regular Mezco 112 collective Batman. So if you want to have, a gorilla-sized, maybe not King Kong, but like a sort of a regular gorilla-sized figure in your shelf or in your photos, and then putting him in the arena for some gladiatorial battle. You might have him fighting a Mythic Legions gladiator. And yeah, so there's some fun things you can do with him, maybe as just a generic gorilla in your collection, or Gorilla Grodd, or, something like that. But yeah, so it's a really cool figure. It's, it's not a King Kong in scale with any of my other figures, but it's just a nice piece. It's an awesomely sculpted little work of art right here. And for $40, it's kind of a good deal. It's the price of, it's basically the same price as a regular Mythic Legions figure, just like slightly more expensive, like $5 more, because those are $35. But this is quite a good price point for this figure. And yeah, so we'll see if that $250 piece is going to live up to this one. This one for $40 is awesome. We'll see if that one for $250 is awesome. I have a feeling it's not quite going to be able to hit a value point where you're going to feel like, wow, $250 was a really good deal for it. The same way I feel like $40 was a really good deal for this one. Anyway, that's my review. Thanks for watching. And speaking of Mythic Legions, don't forget to check out my video review of the Mythic Legions Elf Legion Builder in collaboration with the Mythic Legions Cabal. It's still a couple days left as of the posting of this video for my giveaway on that figure. It is exclusive to members of the Cabal, so join that group, watch my video, follow the directions, and get entered to win an elf. And I think there's only like 15 or so entries so far, so there's a pretty good probability of winning. That's about it for me today. Thanks for watching, and until next time, may the Force be with you. DorkLair.